Hey everyone, my name is Austin. I'm a senior product designer here at GitLab. This week in our design role for compliance, focused on a few things. I wanted to share some cool validation we heard from a customer earlier this week. I think one thing we want to focus on as we continue to grow the status checks feature is how we can give more autonomy to the responses that they can give. An example that was referred to was the ability to use external like pipeline validation. So in this case, if the response is 200, it's accepted. If it's 406, it's rejected, and then anything else sent in those codes would be accepted and logged. What our users might want to do is configure how they actually respond with a message so that they can do more than just pass or fail. So something this might look like is being able to interpret a message. Maybe it's in JSON, maybe it's some other format, but just something so that they can give some feedback to users when something fails. So as they build out these automated checks that are happening in their merge requests, they can decide whether or not they can provide that feedback. The success message might not be so important, but I think for failures, knowing how to resolve this, especially if it's going to be something that's blocking, is going to be critical to the user experience to resolving it, which we already knew, but it was just very cool to see some of that in flight already. Otherwise, this week I was doing a lot of setup. Since we have some engineering downtime, I guess you could call it, just with less people currently working right now, I took some time to set up for some OKR work, as well as thinking ahead to some UX research that I want to get done, or specifically around the category maturity scorecard. So one way I was starting to do that was working on the main heart of the issue for compliance management. I'm also going to need to do one for audit reports and for audit events as well. So you can read more about the research request, the recruiting effort for it, the dovetail research. This will probably be the single source of truth, and everything else will be ancillary and help come out, and we'll see what the outcome is later. But the goal is to better evaluate this so that we know, for example, if this is going to be able to be truly deemed viable in Q4, given what we've built already. So alongside that OKR work, I've got a pretty great issue put together, I think, for Daniel to take on. I've got a Git pod snapshot set up, which should work okay. He's got a scenario he's going to run through, and I'm interested to see what heuristics he comes back with in terms of his evaluation with like a UX scorecard. Sweet. And then while I had some time this week, I jumped in and helped with a few UI text-related things. Some of these smaller front-end changes I like to just tackle when I can. I think they're kind of fun to learn more about the code base and how to do a little bit more engineering work, just so I can better understand that workflow. But yeah, so I helped fix some of that, and I've also got another MR that I opened today. This one I know the tests are failing, but it adds a description essentially to our approval settings for each level, as opposed to what we do now, which is add links to all the different ones. So that'd be cool once it gets through, but might need some help resolving the tests. So with that, have a good weekend.